If you're running an original AMS by Bamboo, you know that moisture is one of the silent causes of failed prints. So today we're unboxing the EIBOS Series X Tetras. Let's get into it.
Upon opening the box, everything is packed very snug and secure. Just to be clear, this unit was purchased with our own studio funds. This is not a sponsored video. If you want to jump straight to assembly, head to the timestamps below. There are a lot of parts in this assembly, so it's important to keep everything organized as you unbox. And don't throw away the foam just yet. One of the pieces is hidden in there. Ask us how we know. During the editing of this video, EIBOS reached out to us to let us know there was an issue with the heater fans on some early units. They've already sent out replacement parts, which in our opinion is excellent customer service. So now let's tidy up these components and see what's next.
From here on out, this is a full in-depth assembly of the EIBOS Tetras Series X. If you're building your own EIBOS, we're here to help. And in all honesty, since we're taking apart the machine already, it's a good time to check out our AMS Spa Day video here and get 2 pretzels with 1 bite.
Alright, first step in the assembly is removing the top cover. Also, can we talk about the hex screwdriver for a second? It's really nice, EIBOS. If you make a whole set of these, we're in. Time to crack open the instructions. Other reviewers have pointed out that the photos are great, and we agree, the images are very helpful. That said, without much written guidance, there were a few moments where we had to slow down and double check the orientation of certain parts. This is a pretty involved assembly, so strap in. First, flip the unit over and undo the hinge screws. This is where the included hex screwdriver really comes in clutch. The magnetic end is super helpful for keeping track of those screws as they come out. We're really excited for this unit because being able to dry filament while you print helps prevent moisture-related issues like stringing, weak layers, and inconsistent surface quality. Alright, now we'll flip the unit back over, take the lid off, and see what the instructions have us doing next. So now it's time to put the new lid on. Just a quick heads up, there's some electrical tape on the lid hinges that need to be removed before installation. Place the lid on top of the base housing and the new hinges should slide right into place. From there, flip the entire unit back over and reinstall the hinge screws. Once again, we get to use that really awesome hex screwdriver to reinstall the screws back in the location shown here. The magnetic tip makes this part way easier and helps keep everything lined up as you go. Fun fact, filament can start absorbing moisture almost immediately after it's been exposed to open air, especially in humid environments. Most filaments are hygroscopic, meaning they pull moisture out of the air over time. When that moisture gets heated up during printing, it expands into steam and can affect the layer adhesion, surface finish, and overall print consistency. This top edition does add a noticeable amount of bulk to the unit, but there's a good reason for it. Stick around and you'll see why later in the video. Now it's time to move on to the next part of the assembly and start installing some of the undercarriage pieces. This is where the unit really starts to come together. For this step, you'll want to grab the M3H8 screws that came with the unit and have them ready before you begin. Next, we'll begin installing the undercarriage connector pieces. We'll show the exact locations for these on screen to make it easier to follow along. These parts are what connect the AMS housing to the new dryer unit power housing, so take your time and make sure everything is aligned properly. These connector pieces might not look like much on their own, but they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to tying the AMS housing and drying unit together as one solid assembly. If this is your kind of content, you'll love our Print and Pretzels live streams. Come hang out with us and ask questions live. Now it's time to move on to the next step, routing the power cables. Remember that hidden piece in the foam we mentioned earlier? Yeah, this is where it comes into play. We may have lost ours to the weeds for a minute, but eventually one of our cats led us right to it. The 90-degree section of the cable plugs into the back, just like you see here on screen. Make sure to route the cables exactly as shown in the pamphlet. You don't want any of them crossing. If the cables are crossed, the unit won't function as intended. Cable routing might not be the most exciting part of the build, but it's one of the most important for making sure everything works the way it should. Now it's time to install some more undercarriage items. Pay close attention to the highlighted step. It really helps show how the connector pieces line up with the screw hole locations. This is one of the trickier steps in the build. Make sure you loosely install all the screws first. Once they're all seated in their locations, go back and tighten them down. This helps the undercarriage plate align properly. At this point, we're installing the little foam pads on the plate. Pay close attention to where they are placed on the screen, since placement does matter here. Now we're going to grab the M3H12 screws and start installing them in their proper locations. Please note that the locations shown on the screen are approximate. We did our best to highlight them clearly during the editing process. Once again, don't fully tighten these screws until all of them are mostly seated. Tightening them too early can put stress on the housing and may cause cracking around the screw locations. We've been using this unit for roughly 2 months at this point, and overall it's been functioning really well in our setup. We've really enjoyed the power user features and how it fits into a busy studio workflow. The one downside worth mentioning though, we'll show you that here in just a moment. But first we need to install the control panel assembly. Grab all the appropriate screws and install them in the locations you're going to see on screen. Just like before, get all the screws started first, then go back and tighten them down once everything is seated. Alignment was definitely the trickiest part of this setup, so don't rush it. Take your time, keep everything lined up, and make small adjustments as you go until it seats the way it should. Be patient, be careful, and as always, be glorious. As we finish tightening everything down here, if this walkthrough has helped you out, give the video a like. It really does make a difference. And if there's a part of this assembly that's confusing or giving you trouble, leave us a comment and we'll jump in. You can also support the channel through Buy Me a Pretzel, which helps us keep making in-depth builds and honest reviews like this. Now we'll plug in the control panels one by one. These USB-C connectors only go in one location, so start on one side and work your way across, connecting each control panel one at a time. Don't worry if these little foot pads don't stay down right away. Ours didn't either. Once the machine is flipped over and sits on them for a bit, they settle right into place. Gravity for the win. Oh, and a quick tip here. If you fold the control panels out like this, it makes it much easier to plug the cables in where they belong. Now we move on to plugging the cables into the power module. The cables are clearly labeled, which makes it easy to identify where each cable belongs. And now we get to the drawback we mentioned earlier, installing the acrylic individual bays. These bays are great because they split the unit into 4 separate sections, giving you a ton of control. The downside is maintenance. If you ever need to access the AMS internals, everything from this point forward has to be undone and then reinstalled every single time. That's a lot of extra work if you do frequent maintenance, and as the unit gets older, maintenance becomes more common. It's also worth pointing out that this isn't necessarily a drawback for everyone. How often you need to do maintenance really depends on how often you print. In our case, we're running printers pretty much 24/7 all year long, so maintenance comes up a lot for us. That's why this stands out as a drawback in our workflow. If you're a more casual printer, or only print occasionally, this may not be an issue at all. This was the most confusing part of the install for us, so we're showing it clearly on screen. Let us know in the comments if it helped. And yes, before anyone comments, we know we didn't take the acrylic labels off. That was on purpose so you could clearly see where everything goes. We peeled them off right after filming, we promise. At this point, we're honestly really impressed with this unit. It's been working extremely well for us and has handled some of our oldest, most moisture-soaked filament without any issues. The prints came out clean, consistent, and genuinely dry, which is exactly what you want to see. You can tell a lot of thought went into the design of this system, and as heavy users, we really appreciate the way EIBOS approached it. Now we're moving on to the final steps, installing all the dividers and remaining pieces that make up the individual drying bays of this unit. Proper filament drying really is the key to getting consistent high quality prints, especially over long runs. Long term, we plan on building out a dedicated filament drying and storage section here in the studio to really dial this in. If you got ideas for suggestions, drop them in the comments. We're always listening, and who knows, you might just shape our next big studio project. These small black divider clips you see on screen install in the back, and as far as we can tell, each one really only fits in a single location. Take your time here, patience is key. Don't worry, we're almost complete. EIBOS advertises the install takes roughly 10 to 20 minutes in their documentation, but most builders, especially if you're taking your time or filming, find it closer to a half hour or more. Next up is the acrylic panels, and this is about where our brains shut down, focus is fading, which means a CAT inspection is imminent. And right on cue, management has stopped by to check on our emotional well-being. Thanks, Dante, we appreciate the support. This install has definitely been a longer one, but morale is still high, patience is still intact, and we're almost across the finish line. Now the next step coming up is installing the acrylic back panels. These help keep the chamber properly sealed, which is important for maintaining consistent temperature and humidity inside the unit. A sealed chamber means the dryer can work more efficiently and keep moisture from sneaking back in while your filament is in use. These only go in one way, so it took us a minute to figure out the correct configuration. If you run into the same thing, don't sweat it, stick with it, and it'll click. And now finally, it's time to plug in the heater modules in the back. Each one has its own dedicated connector, and luckily this part is very straightforward, nothing tricky here at all. Once those are plugged in, you're officially home free. Congratulations, you made it! Now it's time to grab some filament and start drying. And if you're looking for a small discount on filament, head on over to SUNLU and use code BEGLORIOUS at checkout to save a little and help support the channel.
Alright, that's the EIBOS Tetras Series X, fully assembled. The individual bay controls work great. Being able to control each one of these bays individually for different filament types is going to be like a power user experience. It's also very quiet for a multi-bay unit. I have this going on right now and I can't hardly hear the fans at all. Oh, and the included hex screwdriver? Way legit. It's even better than some of my tools. And finally, this unit's well balanced. When you go to open and close the lid, it doesn't shut on your fingers. Alright, let's talk about the bad. Setup is not a breeze. The included instructions are very vague, so you'll second guess yourself from time to time. So I hope this video helps you. If it does, smash that like button. And let's talk about the ugly. This is a very big unit, so it's going to take a lot of space up on your workbench. And here's the big one. The individual bays, well, great, and the functionality is there. When you go to do AMS maintenance for spa day, like here, you're going to have some issues. You're going to have to take apart the assembly partially. When you go to remove the PTFE tubes and have to take out the tray, you're going to have to disassemble all the bays. That's going to be a pain. So functionality is there, but that disassemble, it's going to add some added time. If you like this video, smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date as we're going to release another video on a review for head-to-head SUNLU AMS heater versus EIBOS Tetras. Until next time, be glorious.